Hello, one and all. Welcome back to another edition of the Average Guy's Guide to Life podcast. You know who I am. You know what this is. I would like to apologize for my semi-long absence. I've been uploading videos on a more regular basis, but my content is of the light-hearted variety. I like to poke fun at shit. I'm kind of an anarchist. I'm kind of a contrarian. So it just didn't seem like the right time for me to be uploading my type of content. And if you don't know what I mean, then you haven't been watching the news. You've been watching the news less frequently, I should say. Less frequently than I do, because I don't watch the news at all. I don't watch the news. I get my news from other people, or I get my news from, YouTube videos, what's going on. But we all know what's been happening. The protests, the outrage. And I didn't feel like my commentary was necessary because there's so many other people out there that were going to be commenting on it. And I also had things going on with my regular job, and I have things going on in my family, and I also started eating carbs again, so I'm like a chunky baby. I put on a little bit of weight. I don't mind. I don't really care, but it's definitely affected my energy levels. It hasn't affected my mood. It's more so affected my energy levels. And I have arthritis, so my fucking ankles swell up like I'm 65 years old. My ankles get swollen and my feet get swollen. I have to wear special shoes. I shit you not. I have to wear special shoes. I am a young man, but sometimes I can't wear shoes with laces. But that's neither here nor there. I didn't feel like my commentary was absolutely necessary when it came to the current events that was happening, and my normal content would fit into the landscape of what was happening. And it also wouldn't be smart to just ignore what was happening. Like, if I just uploaded a regular video, they'd be like, what the fuck is going on? How come he's not talking about it? Now, these were my thoughts originally, but my thoughts have changed. They've evolved. My thoughts have I don't want to say evolved, because my mind has always been on this, and when I get deeper into this conversation and into this podcast, you'll know exactly what I mean by that. So they haven't evolved. My thoughts have, I guess, become more transparent. I don't mind having to delve into this realm. I don't mind at all. I just felt like it would be oversaturated with everyone talking about it and everyone showing their support or outrage. And let's start off with that, right? Anyone who has anything to say that isn't in agreement with equality and human rights, basic human rights and human decency, no matter the color of your skin, no matter your creed, your religion, your sexual orientation, you are absolutely in the wrong. Period. There's nothing that you can say. Nothing. There's nothing you can say. You can try and defend the police department. You can try and defend our president. You can try and stereotype the black community. You could try and do all these things. But when it comes to what the fuck happened, that's wrong. It's indefensible. And if you try to defend it, you are wrong. I know a lot of people are going to have conservative points of view. Fine. Keep your conservative points of view. A lot of people are repping the Republican Party. Fine. Rep the Republican Party. Don't give a shit. This has nothing to do with politics. This has to do with right and wrong. This has to do with abuse of power and murder. Murder. Okay? Murder. The most punishable offense in human history, murdering another person. So if you have a different opinion, and if you're defending the actions of what happened, you need to shut the fuck up for a second. Seriously. You need to shut the fuck up and maybe reevaluate your life. Reevaluate your values. Think about what you really stand for, what you really want out of life. And if you're a hateful person, of course, you know, I'm not here to change anyone's minds about, you know, what they believe in. Especially those that already carry certain levels of hate within them. They're always going to be that way. I guess I'm talking to the people that are on the fence, sort of. Those people that want to look at every side of the story. You know what I'm saying? Those people that don't want to jump to conclusions without having all the evidence in front of them. And I am one of those people as well. I definitely am. But there is no other side to this. It is murder. Okay? It's fucking murder. The original sin. So if you have something to say, then I think it should be thoughtful before anyone says something that is in disagreement with what's happening. Now that I got that out the way, and I don't want to piggyback on anyone else's commentary. I want to have my own original take. I kind of wanted time to process this. Like I said, there's been a lot of shit going on in my own personal life, you know, on the other side of the camera that I've been having to deal with outside of the madness that's been happening in the United States right now. But what all brought it to the surface was when I had an interaction with someone a week back, maybe a couple of weeks back, in a professional setting. And they said to me that after having a conversation with one of their children, they said to me kind of in passing that all lives matter. And I didn't take offense to it because I knew they were saying it out of naivety and ignorance. And it was no hatred behind them saying it. I understood what they were trying to say. But then this week, they came back to me and apologized for making that statement after they sort of educated themselves on the situation that was going on. And that's what brought this to the surface, because I continued to educate this person. I continued to educate them. And I told them why that is just an obscene and ignorant thing to say, especially when it comes to this current time that we're living in. It's an ignorant and obscene thing to say, period, when the opposition is just trying to, opposition in quotations, of course, is just trying to fight for human rights and equality. So it's obscene, you know, every day of the year. But right now, it is especially obscene. It is especially obscene. Now, when I educated this person, I could tell that they genuinely didn't know. They just didn't know the offense that phrase would cause. And it's not because it is on paper an offensive remark. It isn't. All lives do matter. If you're a caring, empathetic individual, all lives do matter. But in the context of someone saying Black Lives Matter, and your rebuttal to the situation or the person being all lives matter, then that's wrong and that's ignorant. Because Black Lives Matter isn't about putting black lives on a pedestal. It's about the fight for equality. It is about black lives mattering too. in the United States of America primarily. Because it doesn't seem like Black Lives Matter as much as other lives may. So that's the first thing I want to educate her on. Like, the statement in itself isn't offensive. It's just the context in which you use it. In this context, versus Black Lives Matter, it should never be used. Ever. Either you're on board and you're supporting, or you're not. It's as simple as that. And if you're not, then that's a phrase that you should be using. That's when it becomes opposition. Firstly. Then I went in to explain to this person, besides how blatant the police brutality has been, whether someone is a criminal that lives in a drug populated area, just a gang populated area, whether they're that in that demographic or they're just living while black, police brutality and discrimination that's been documented over years. Like, it's not going to disappear. That's an evident mark in history that you can look at if you want to look at black oppression. That's like one of the main bullet points, but something that she just wouldn't know from not having experienced this and not having educated herself. It is the systemic oppression that exists, the outpricing of African Americans out of certain communities, while also injecting into those communities devices that would keep them oppressed and keep them in poverty. Working low-wage jobs as well. If you go to a black community, any hood, because I grew up in the fucking hood. If you grew up in any hood, it's things that you're gonna see that if you were to go to a suburban neighborhood, you wouldn't see there. And that's not by accident. What the fuck do you see in a hood? And let's say in my hometown of Chicago, what do you see in a hood of Chicago that you wouldn't see if you were to go to the fucking suburbs and like Niles or fucking Bolingbrook or Naperville or some shit? What do you see in the hood? What do you see? You see a bunch of fast food restaurants. You see a bunch of liquor stores. A bunch of churches. Got a bunch of pawn shops. And a bunch of payday loan stores. This is a part of systemic oppression. Why? Because they know you're working bullshit minimum wage jobs, so this is the only food that you can afford. You can only afford to go to churches. You can't afford to go to fucking Whole Foods. You can't afford to go to Fresh Time. No way. You can't afford to eat healthy because they price you out of eating healthy. So what do? They put the fucking dollar menu in your neighborhood so that you can eat it up, get diabetes, get heart disease, get overweight, and die. Okay? They also want to get you in debt. And when I say they, I mean the system that's built. I don't want to say they in a vague way. I mean people that are in power, that have been in power, white America, that created the system, okay, that allow these things to progress and continue to progress and be sustained. Okay? They want to keep you in debt. And what's the way to do that? By not only having you priced out of, certain education, higher education, so that your only option is to work these nickel and penny jobs, so you don't have any money, you don't have enough money to fend for yourself or maybe your family. So what do you have to do? You have to get loans. You have to get payday loans with extremely high interest rates that you can't pay back. and that's going to hit your credit report. Or you have to go to a pawn shop and sell your things. Okay? It's in the neighborhoods. Okay? So that's a part of systemic oppression. And when the people in that neighborhood decide to harm their own neighborhoods by doing the only thing that they know that will make them money guaranteed, which is selling drugs and joining the gang. That's the only way that you can make money when you come from those sort of neighborhoods, because you don't want to struggle. You've seen struggle. Why the fuck would I work at this Popeyes? Why the fuck would I work at this Wendy's making pennies, nickels, and dimes when I could sell nickels and dimes and be balling? And then possibly have, not possibly, definitely your chances of meeting your fate by another black man or another black woman has increased. And your possibility and your chances of getting corralled by an abusive, tyrannical police department increases. So you leave the community no choice. If they want to prosper, you leave them no choice but to take advantage of their own community and to damage their own community by selling drugs to it. That's the only way they have to make it the money. Okay? And then you punish them further by taking them to prison for being a product of their environment. And I'm not saying that this is a general thing. This doesn't happen to everyone. But it happens to more people than it doesn't happen to. This is the system. This is the cycle. This is the cycle. This is hip hop culture. This is real hip hop culture. It's not the fucking music. It's the lifestyle. And I was in that lifestyle. I lived that lifestyle for a great part of my life. And when they say the trap, when they say something is the trap, they don't mean just specifically because they're selling drugs out of an abandoned building or they have a drug spot or a corner or a couple of blocks of their community. It's literally a trap. It's a trap. You can't get fucking out. You can't get out. You're trapped there. That's why they call it the trap. And only people with extremely strong wills and extremely independent thought can make it out of those neighborhoods, like myself. And when we do, people like me, like-minded individuals like myself, when we do get out, we don't forget. At least I don't. We don't forget. We want to go back and get other people out. And this is where things get interesting, because when you try to fight a war by yourself and you're just one singular voice shouting into the void against a crowd of other voices, it's damn near impossible. Because in the hip hop culture, when you live in these traps, you live in these ghettos and these hoods, my people, they've accepted their roles. They've accepted their role of oppression, and they learn to deal with it. They learn to live in these little pockets. They learn that the baby mama, baby daddy culture is normal. They learn that the child support, paycheck to paycheck welfare culture is normal. The food stamp culture, the Social Security check culture is normal. It's not fucking normal. It's not. It's just been beaten into our cultures for so fucking long, for so hard, that it's become ingrained in our DNA. So to shout opposed to that into the community, saying that there's a better way, when that's considered lame, that's considered to be wrong, and the right way is to shoot and kill and sell drugs and be a fucking a virus to your own community. That's what we've been doing for so long. Why are you telling us not to do that? Well, because if we were to step above that and we will all get on the same page and we all can acknowledge that enough of us, then it wouldn't be a single voice shouting into the void. It would be a decent community. Then we can help get future generations out of that situation. It would no longer exist. It would no longer be considered the norm when it never should have been in the first place. There's no way in fucking hell you should be able to go down the street and within a 5-minute walk of each other, of each establishment, you should be able to get a fucking payday loan, get a 10-piece meal, and then get yourself some weed on the way home. Right? Sounds like a good fucking time. Yeah. Sounds like a good time. I mean, on a certain level, it kind of does. It really does. Sounds like a good time. But guess what? In these other white communities, do you think that exists? No. That shit don't exist. Think they got a fucking PLS payday loan store in their neighborhood? No, they don't need no fucking loan. They got slave money. They got old slave money. Generational wealth that we are currently trying to create. And that's all I guess I want to say. My only take on it. My different take on it. Because we all know it's wrong. We all know that the murder was wrong. That police needs reform. We all know this. We all know that equality, human equality, is needed. And it's been needed for a very long time in this country. We all know that. This is obvious shit. But what's not so obvious is that it starts within our communities as well. We can't just fucking get mad when someone dies and then forget about it. A month from now, 2 months from now, forget about it and go back to the status quo, living the normal life in the hood. That baby daddy, baby mama, hip hop style of life. Let me get an Italian beef, dipped, mild sauce, salt and pepper on the fries. You know, let me get a large Dr. Pepper with that. And let me get 2 dime bags with that. You know, we can't. That has nothing to do with nothing. Maybe I'm just hungry. I do miss the fucking food. But anyway, we can't just forget and go back to the way of life. It starts within our own communities. And in our own communities, once we organize there, once we figure out there that this is not acceptable, we can also get others to back us. Because right now, we need other people to be on board, other ethnicities, other races. We need white America to get on this bandwagon as well, to get on this fucking train and help it move. We need it. We need it. They're 60% of the population. We can't do it alone because we've been trying to do it alone forever. So we need their support. But we also need more support from within our own communities. And once we get that, and we can prove that our own communities can thrive and not corrode and not kind of implode upon itself and thrive, and people want to make it out and not be a stereotype, you know. And there's nothing wrong with living a hip-hop lifestyle but doing it in a clean way, you know. Doing it in a fucking, you know, ethical way, without having to kill motherfuckers or sell drugs to your community, harmful drugs. You know, there's a way of doing that. So we need to prove that to ourselves, and then we can reflect that onto the people that we're actually needing assistance from as well. It's like, look, we got our shit together. We got our shit together. Now fucking get on the ball and work this out. We need equality. Period. Stop killing us. Period. I've advocated and volunteered for several nonprofit organizations within the city of Chicago for years. And I see how hard the fight is. I've seen it. I've seen how hard it is to get funding. I've seen how hard it is to get backing. I've seen it. And how hard it is to get politicians to listen for just basic human rights. Because I've been in the communities. And I've been in the organizations. And I understand that even if you have a small cluster of voices, it still get trapped in the void and no one's fucking listening. They just put their fucking fingers in their ears and they're la 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 la. We don't care. So I understand. I get it. I've been there, and I've been in every situation you could think of when it comes to this particular issue. I've been in it as far as like in the traps, in the hoods, and I've been on the other side of it. I have been a victim of police stereotyping, and you know, I have witnessed it, and I've also seen some good cops. I've worked with good cops. I've been on every side of this. And I know this is a transaction. Oh, transaction. Ooh. I know this is a transitional period of time that won't happen overnight. Shit, it hasn't been happening overnight. It hasn't been. And I know that one voice or one small cluster of voices won't make it happen. It takes the majority of voices to get on. And that's going to be the hard part. To get everyone on the same page with Black Lives Matter 2. Black Lives Matter 2. Okay? That's it. And that's pretty much how I educated the lady. It's pretty much how I left out a bunch. I left out a bunch because I can go into deep. I can go very deep into the history of it and the projections, you know. And I didn't even touch on the education and the health system, you know. But that's the different take I have. The different take is us African American people. If we want true change and true equality, we have to work on it ourselves as well. While we are also doing our thing and protesting and being outraged, we also have to work within our own communities as well. Because shit ain't perfect. Fucking dishes still in the sink, fam. Dishes still in the fucking sink. Gravy all over them motherfuckers. Gravy and spaghetti for some reason. All over the dishes we got in our sink. We need to clean out our sink. I'm not saying it got to be spick and fucking span, but damn, can we just have a couple of cups in that bitch? Just a couple of cups, maybe a plate, something? Because ain't nobody's sink completely empty. Everybody got something in that motherfucker, whether it be a fork, couple of spoons, you know, you got to, for some reason, you got your fucking food processor in there, you know? Ain't nobody's sink empty. But I just want ours a little cleaner. Because right now it looks like we got about 70 years worth of Thanksgivings just piled up to the fucking sky in our sinks. All across the fucking nation. And I'm just saying, we need to get together as a people. Put on them yellow gloves, those yellow fucking gloves. Put on a hairnet if you got to. Get that motherfucking Joy of that Dawn, lemon scented. And just get to busting them dishes down, fam. Bust them motherfuckers down. Plate by plate, bowl by bowl, glass by glass. Until we get our fucking sink manageable. Okay? And hopefully you understand that that metaphor I was using there. And hopefully this episode of the podcast wasn't too heavy. I promise I'm going to be back more frequently now that things are settling down in my personal life and with my job, and saying I don't think things will ever settle down in the country, but the protests and everything are starting to settle down, and we shouldn't settle down as a people. Let me just say that again. We can't fucking forget a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now. We can't forget but things are starting to be a little less chaotic. So I will be uploading content more frequently again. I have some voiceover shit that I would like to give to your lovely ears, my people. I have a growing interest in doing voiceover work and voice acting. So I will be dropping a couple of podcasts that will be special edition podcasts where I am doing voiceover work for ideas strictly out of my head. Out of my head. I made it up. One will be semi-scripted. The other will be 100% improvisation. And I think you'll love it. When I make the fucking wacky voices, and they might not be wacky. Some of them may be very serious. Why am I ending every sentence inflating my voice? Fam? Anyway, hopefully you guys are doing well. I know, quarantine's still kind of going. I know, we got hate in the world. We got riots and protests. I know. Aliens coming. You know, it's going to be... I think Jesus coming back, too. Fuck, I'd believe it if someone just fucking put it in a newspaper. The return of Jesus Christ. I'd be like, fine. Everything else is happening. This has been the strangest Black Mirror episode ever, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna end. It's like continued, like to be continued forever. Anyway, remember to subscribe, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Keep all your hate at home, and if you disagree with me, fine, leave me a comment, let me know. I might not even read it when it comes to this topic. You can go fuck yourself. All right, bye.